Void Destroyer 2, a game where you start in a small ship, start small, then grow into an empire. Like a lot of games I seem to be playing lately. Look, it even has Void in the title, like another game we reviewed just recently. I really enjoy playing games like this, and I have to give some good credit to the dev, who apparently is a one-man team. So dang, I am impressed at this game, sir. Quite an accomplishment. I'll be honest, I didn't touch Early Access or Void Destroyer 1 at all. I'll just blame the Steam algorithm for that, because Steam algorithm. Anyway, let's get into the review. Same new format as the past video. I'm going to check out the gameplay, graphics, sound, and replayability, and any noteworthy features. So, on to gameplay. Like I said before, you start in a small ship, and I'll be honest, the start of the game is a bit daunting. You randomly start in a battleground if you do story mode. Stuff's going on, I don't know how to shoot. I hit space and go into some weird tactical view, and oh boy! Then you wake up in a tutorial. Gosh, I've heard of a hot drop, but this was like being shoved into molten goop at the end of Terminator 2. Maybe it's because I skipped out on the first game, but I would have just preferred waking up with amnesia in the tutorial. Anyway, there's an undeniable learning curve to these space sims. I'd estimate this one was about 1 to 2 hours until I learned what I was properly doing, another hour or so until I figured out how to do it properly. I eventually just sat down and read the in-game guide, would help explain a lot of the features to me, because reading is a very important skill. Stay in school, kids! Daunting starting experience aside, I began doing missions which were simple enough for a one-man fleet. I recommend taking it easy, because this game definitely does crank the difficulty up. Your starting fighter is simple enough to get a few decent missions done, at least up to normal difficulty, but anything beyond that might end up kicking your tush off a cliff if you're not careful. I enjoy the way this ship system works. It's a bit basic, but you can only select a limited amount of passive and active upgrades. However, these upgrades are significant boons to your ship. You can make even a combo with some upgrades together, like a passive shield and then the ability to recharge shield, which practically makes your ship take a ton of damage for a short time. Each ship also comes with a secondary weapon, like a barrier, tractor beam, or just a more painful weapon. Or some special perk, like transporting cargo or mining. Cargo took a bit of getting used to me. Usually I tend to jump right into commerce right away with games like these. However, only specific cargo and mining ships can even carry cargo. But I wasn't out of luck there. You could hire cargo and mining ships for a fairly cheap price. So after a few missions, I was able to jump right into a mining gig and get those sweet dough-rich rocks. It also gave me a chance to experiment and learn with the tactical view. I could give a mining ship an order to drop all cargo and have the cargo ship come and pick it up. So that actually made a nice fleet functionality. My only problem is that in tactical mode it's a bit hard to tell what's an enemy and an ally, so maybe add a small UI indicator for that. It's not like in cockpit mode where I'm just looking for those red targeting symbols anyway, so I know you can do it, dev. You can do it! Regardless, there's a much wider degree of control in tactical mode. You can trigger time dilation to give you some much needed thinking and reaction time, to slow time to 1/10 of what it is. You can also use it in cockpit mode if your aim is hella terrible, like mine, or just get ships with turrets because I am a lazy mother blubber. After building up a giant commerce fleet, I thought it was time to start building up an actual assault fleet, like an invasion fleet. So I built a fairly big one, and oh boy! Lost horribly. So, gotta get that fleet going a little bigger, I suppose. You need to do an epic battle like this to try and capture one of the bases on the map, and to my observation, the game seems to mainly take place in one solar system. I haven't quite been able to capture one yet, but according to the guide, it opens up a faucet of owning a base. It's a very difficult thing to do, and very much an in-game thing, though it's still good that this game has grand-scale goals for myself to do, even 20 hours in. Anyway, I think I've gone on long enough about gameplay. So, on to graphics now. Graphics are simplistic, but each station and ship has their own unique model. There's a bit of a light, cel-shaded look to all the ships, which ties well for the simplicity. The user interface could use a little work, but it gets the job done. and you can figure out what everything does. Like I said, the game's graphics are simplistic, and this is a normal thing with space sims. The thing you'll be looking for most of the time is a red UI dot to shoot at from afar, because 1,000 meters is still a kilometer, and that's pretty hard to see clearly, even in space. Also, maybe tie the active ability buttons to something outside the tactical screen. I couldn't find a button that triggered that, at least to my knowledge. The camera can also use some work outside of the tactical screen, such as zooming in and, well, observing and trying to identify stuff makes it a bit difficult, especially since it seems stuck in a horizontal plane. Overall, the graphics get the job done, and that's all you really need. For the game's sound, it's a bit mixed. The game can feel a bit inconsistent between it being the silence of space and a few soundtracks. It can be a bit grating on the ears with a few specific music tracks, but it's nothing that forced me to turn the sound off. Otherwise, it's your typical space ambient genre kind of music. I kinda wish there was a bit more of a combat soundtrack, but honestly I do admire the hushed explosions of weapon fire in the vacuum. I think it'd be more awesome if sci-fi games were to make that muffled vacuum noises in space more mainstream, because I haven't heard stuff like this since Dead Space. The quiet sounds of you firing and downing a target is something I really enjoy. And last but not least, replayability. I see a lot of potential in this game, especially as my fleet grows. Maybe I'll take over a station sometime, but there's still goals to keep working towards, which are an important thing in these games. It varies on your willpower to find and execute trade routes, but the game can be surprisingly in-depth and also a good time. The feeling of starting in a junkie fighter and working your way up is always an empowering, especially after you get behind a big fancy Corvette. So, my final review for this game is a big old thumbs up. This game is pretty rough, but there's some quality gold in that there ore. Again, it's done by one man with artists and the like helping him out, but if you're into space sims, I can definitely recommend this as one of the good ones. So I think that will conclude this video. Thanks for watching all, I hope you enjoyed. Like if you liked, dislike if you disliked. Maybe give me a comment below about what you did or didn't like. If you want more, feel free to subscribe and maybe we'll hit 100 someday. I could make a silly celebration video. This is Mr. Bubbles signing out, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.